I wasn't even on yet. All right, cool. All right, here we go. So let's just go ahead and start. Today is Tuesday, January 14th. My name is Paris. Thank you for joining me. Today is the first edition ever of Kubernetes Chairs and Tech Leads Hangout, chill session, kickoff, shindig that we'll do monthly. Hopefully have 2 time zones. Hopefully we can figure out how to make this sync and make this flow for both folks. Thank you, first off, for joining me today. Cool. I did add the agenda in the Zoom channel, or Zoom chat, rather. I'm sorry. If you could add your name to the attendees list, that would be great. And also, there is an open discussion at the very end. If you would like to say anything, especially so I'm not talking at all of you, that would be wonderful. That would be great. And of course, we do have a code of conduct. Please be excellent to each other. There's 16 of you right now that are joining, and I think others are going to be joining us momentarily and throughout the call. So if we do have some discussions, either raise your hand or just ping in Slack that you want to say something, just because it's a large meeting. And that's really it for the welcome. So what I wanted to do first off is intros. I know everybody's like cringes when we do like intros at Google. It's like, not again. But some of you don't know each other, and that's legit. I guarantee you there's at least one of you right now on this call that doesn't know who the other person is that they're looking at, or like if you don't have if you don't have your face up, don't know your name or what you represent. So I did put a little template in the agenda for musts as far as intros is concerned. So we have a little bit of a template. Of course, your name, the SIG or working group that you represent, or multiple ones. I know some of you wear multiple hats. The best contact for you. So whether that's email, Slack, GitHub, something else, whatever that something else is, mailing list, what can we hit you with first, pretty much. Optional stuff, if you want to do pronouns, your employer, your job, your favorite food, color, animal, a challenge that you're currently having that you want to tell other chairs and tech leads about, an announcement that you think that this group would be applicable and would be sharing, or applicable to sharing, and that's it. So I'm just going to go first based off of my Zoom window here, and that is, I think, the Google room. I think that's Fetty and Walter, if I can see. All right, why don't y'all kick off the intros?
Hi, my name is Walter, Walter Fender. My GitHub handle is Chef Taco. I'm one of the chairs for SIG Cloud Provider. Email, GitHub, or Slack all work pretty well to contact me. Generally, either wfender@google.com or cheftaco@gmail.com. And that's taco with a K, not taco with a C.
I was going to call you out, but you did it. Anyway, what's up, Patty?
Should I go next? My name is Federico Bongiovanni. I'm one of the chairs. I'm the co-chair of SIG API Machinery. I work at Google with some of these wonderful people. And you know, all the communication channels are open. Usually Slack or email is the best. I'm Fede Bongio on GitHub.
Jim? Angel?
Sorry, I thought you said Dims for a second there. My name is Jim Angel. I'm a SIG Docs co-chair. Best way to contact me, I would say Slack. All of them work pretty well. Pronouns, he, him. Working in Kubernetes. Favorite food color animal is red.
Michael.
Right. No, that's pretty much it. Oh, I guess you did ask if there's any pains.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to bring up is at KubeCon North America last year, or I guess a few months ago, I realized there's a lot of things going on in Contribex and in the release team that kind of overlaid with docs. And there's a lot of communication there, but I think there could be better communication between the chairs and maybe some sort of status out that the chairs do, but for another discussion.
That's definitely this meeting kind of topic. So thanks. Michael?
Hi everybody. I'm one of the chairs for SIG Windows. The easiest way to find me is probably on Slack. My alias is M2. I'm both in the CNCF Slack as well as the Kubernetes Slack. I guess one major pain that we're hitting, this is more of a Windows thing, it's a lot of times Windows is almost like a second-class citizen in the Kubernetes community, so we're trying to always change that stigma and get it up front and center for when people are thinking of functionality and areas of investment. I guess orange is a color I will pick.
Good color. I like that as well. Tim Pepper.
I'm Tim Pepper, SIG release working group LTS around support, also on the patch release team or branch manager. Best way to contact me, I'm T Pepper on all the things generally. I would say no GitHub notifications are going to catch my eyeballs probably, but it's, yeah, that's a known problem in the community. I work for VMware. Favorite food at this point would have to be tacos, considering it's lunchtime and it's been mentioned and I'm hungry. And an issue dealing with the bash fire that is our release scripting, and this goes to what Jim mentioned, I think, as well. One of the things we're dealing with right now is an issue around how we versioned our open API Swagger JSON spec, and docs had keyed off of that, and it causes it's causing multiple dimensions of problems, and we're trying to sort out a fix to it. And yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Zach, our fearless docs leader.
Hey, I'm Zach, co-chair of SIG Docs. It is snowing in Victoria, British Columbia. It's a giant pain in the butt, but it's pretty. Let's see, best way to contact me, GitHub usually works best. Let's see, optional. Pronouns he, him, they, them. Work for the Linux Foundation. Challenge we are having, just a +1, Jim and Tim on the Go Fire, that is our reference doc generators, and all of the pain associated with, as we add localizations, we add an increasing number of contributors with write access to the repo. And that is a deeply unsustainable practice that does not scale. And we need to fix that sooner rather than later.
All right, Stephen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Augustus. I am a co-chair for SIG Release, co-chair for SIG PM. Sorry, someone is not muted. Okay. Co-chair for SIG PM, former chair Azure. Okay, I'm muted now. Or what is happening?
I was trying to mute someone else and I muted you by accident.
All right, so release, one of the patch release team members as well, PM, Azure, working on cluster API stuff, and GitHub management stuff on the lower tier occasionally. The best ways to reach me are Slack, really. You can reach out. I'm available on all platforms as Just Augustus, so that's Kubernetes Slack and CNCF Slack. My email is Stephen, stephen.cates@agst.us. If you want to reach out to me via email for Kubernetes stuff. Pronouns are he, him. I am employed at VMware as a lead for the Cloud Native Tooling and Advocacy Group. Favorite color is oxblood, and the challenge that we're having is also +1ing to all of the bash fire that is happening in release and docs and pretty much everywhere. We're working on refactoring a lot of that stuff to Go tools, which is working nicely so far. On the release engineering side, additionally, on the PM side, the big pain, I guess, is I would love to see us move towards global planning events or individual planning events that fed into something that turned into a Kubernetes roadmap. We don't have one of those today. It would be great to eventually see. Yeah, I talked enough. All right.
You answered everyone. Y'all do not have to do that. Steven's like, I'm prepared. Thank you. Matt Farina, kick it off.
Hi, I'm Matt Farina, SIG Apps. I work over at Samsung SDS, formerly of SIG Architecture. The easiest way to get a hold of me is a direct message in Slack or email, matt@mattfarina.com. Almost
So
on
scalable,
everything,
y'all. So
I'm Matt
scalable.
Farina. It's so boring, but I'm easy to find. But if it's not a direct message in Slack, and if it's a GitHub notification, it will never be seen. There's just too much, as some of you know. As far as favorite things, I don't have any, which is why I always get in trouble. There's no favorite colors or favorite animals, none of those things. And problems, it's probably getting more people up the contributor ladder and getting more people interested and involved. And it's not that we don't have that, it's that it requires mentoring, it requires time from people who are already very busy. And how do we encourage that? That's probably the biggest problem that I see right now.
I've got solutions for you. So, next intro though. Adnan, I see you on.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. Carrying on that SIG Apps trend, I'm one of the other co-chairs of SIG Apps. Yeah, the easiest way to find me is on Slack, probably. I'm at Pridonius on basically everything. So yeah, that's how you can reach me. Favorite colors, blue. Kubernetes blue, specifically.
All right. And then, all right, let's see who's next. Christoph.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christoph Blecker. Steering. I do a bunch of contribx stuff. I'm usually playing with GitHub bots or putting out bash fires. The best way to reach me, bar none, is Slack. I actually do get around to GitHub notifications eventually, but if you want something in a timely manner, definitely Slack.
Learn something new every day. That was my
color red. I'm just going to go with that.
Thanks, Christoph.
Is it test grid red?
Yes, test grid red.
All right, Sean Sullivan, who are you? You are muted, that's for one. I'll skip. All right. Taylor, new chair.
Yo, not a chair. I own one though. I help out with just observing today. So, but favorite color is definitely test grid red as well. At me. I know everyone says don't at me, but please at me, and I'll get back to you. Really just looking at how I can help out more across SIG Docs blog, subproject, SIG release, and SIG contribx. But happy to see all your faces.
That sounds like a potential chair, y'all. So anyway. All right, who's next? Then we've got Tim Allclair. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Tim Allclair. I work at Google. I'm on chair on SIG Auth and also a member of the product security committee. You may have seen we just launched the bug bounty, so I'm excited to grow the security side of things a lot. It's kind of terrifying though. I'm tall Claire at most things. Email or Slack is best. Favorite animal is a pangolin. And I'd say my biggest pain point is PR reviews. Both as a reviewer, I feel like I'm always dropping the ball. And as a contributor, I feel like I can never get anything done because it's so hard to find someone to review the code.
Yeah. We hear you. All right, and then we're wrapping it up. It looks like Himishu, you are next, and then George, you're after that.
Hey guys, I'm one of the co-chair for SIG usability. Can you guys hear me properly? Okay, good. And I was working for Pivotal, which is now VMware. So I'm all doing, onboarding stuff with that. And I have been with SIG usability since the formation of that. What else? My favorite color is blue. And I just ate a pretty heavy Indian food, so I'm tired right now. So.
Welcome.
Thank you.
New chair. All right, and then George.
Hi, I'm George Castro. I'm a SIG contributor experience. Most of you know me as the person who helps you fix your YouTube videos. So generally speaking, I'm available for SIG chairs to, I don't know, just help you do your job, take the load off, help with automation, that sort of thing. Some of you take more advantage of me than others, but you all should be taking advantage of me. So I'm basically here to be available to y'all.
Wow, someone's giving you cycles, y'all.
Except Augustus.
All right, Sean's mute's working. Sean Sullivan, really quick, what's up with you?
Is that working now? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Sean Sullivan. I'm the co-chair of SIG CLI. I work at Google. And I guess one of the challenges we've been working on for quite a while is trying to get the inappropriate dependencies of kube control out of kube control so that we can pull kube control into its own repository. We've been working on that a long time, and we've almost completed that. I guess that's it.
That is a feat. Y'all are doing awesome. All right, and then last one, Meshach.
Hi, my name is Matej Shulik. I'm co-chairing SIG CLI next to Sean. I'm working for Red Hat, but you will also see me hopping here and there in different areas like SIG API machinery, mostly SIG apps as well. Challenges, probably I'll second what Sean just mentioned with regards to splitting kubectl outside. But then on top of that, the review backlog, way behind those. The best option to reach me is definitely direct Slack. So don't be afraid to add me. That's the best way to reach me out. GitHub notifications, I might get to it eventually, but it might take a couple of weeks or even months. Unfortunately, it takes that long for me. My GitHub, Slack, and basically every other handle is Soltis. I put it down in the agenda.
Awesome. All right, I think that wraps us up with intros. Anyone else? Did I miss anybody by accident? Wow, my time box actually was pretty on point as well, y'all. Sweet. All right. So I was thinking as far as like how to shape the meeting next, something around like an announcement section, kind of like what we do for the community meeting, but announcements that are very targeted to you as chairs or tech leads. So of course, two immediate ones that came to our minds this time. The first off is the contributor experience survey. The other being the new community meeting cadence, which has switched to monthly. For the contributor experience survey, right now we have about 170 responses, which means that we have hit our at least 2018 target. The 2019 target hopeful was at least 200. So we've also extended the deadline until Friday. So I think we'll hit our target, which is awesome. That means we'll have good survey data. CNCF is also going to be giving us a good contributor report as well from that data. You can even look to see, there's an issue that I can link inside of here where you can see just the raw questions. So if you have any have anything that you'd like personally analyzed that might help your SIG, like for instance, I know there's release questions on there. There's obviously testing questions and things like that. So we can pull those out separately. We can even do a whole meeting on the analysis of the results, if that's something that would help you all. And things like that. So the only favor that I have to ask of you is if you have not had a meeting yet, to please add this to your agendas this week. Also, if if you have already had a meeting but have not passed this news, to please pass it to your mailing lists. I know Christoph definitely sent that out to like 1 million mailing lists yesterday. But if there's any that we missed, and again, we're just trying to get the upstream community. We know the community is vast, but let's try to focus on folks who are using GitHub workflows and things like that. Any questions about the survey? All right, and if you're interested too in building this and helping build or getting a pulse out of your own communities, we can help with surveys or tailor next year's survey to questions that you think you want to get a pulse on too. So I want you to keep that in the back of your heads for planning, and as you roll out programs and things for your SIGs, if you want to measure them, this is a great way to get a pulse on quality kind of data. Cool. We also have George on right now to talk about the other announcement, which is the new community meeting cadence. George, why don't you hit it for a few minutes about what's up with that and what chairs need to know there?
Yep. So the TLDR attendance was kind of declining when we asked people. They're like, hey, I've got way too many meetings. I'm busy. I'm a SIG chair. So we cut down the cadence of that to once a month. The problem was that we kind of had to wrestle a little bit with the governance as far as meeting our transparency requirements. Like we want users to be able to look at your notes and see what's going on and stuff. So the way we did it is I did a pull request and modified it a little bit so that if you do a status report and you're up to go that month, if because of travel or both co-chairs are not available or you can't find anybody, you can just take the same slide deck slides that you use for the community meeting and just post those to the mailing list, or you can hop on YouTube or post, say, a status during one of your meetings and record that, and let us know when that is. So I basically want to give you more options of places where you can talk about your status and have that count as your transparency requirement. Also, we noticed a lot of chairs were using the same content. They're like, why do I have to do this? KubeCon's in a month and I have to get the same content. So if it's your turn to come up and KubeCons are on the corner and you have a set schedule, that's a status that you're going to give the community, let me know. I'll grab the YouTube video when that gets published by the CNCF, and that will count as your status for the quarter. The reason I'm bringing this up is lots of SIGs got used to, oh, I'm not ready this week, let me punt this to next week, and we would move the schedule around. But since we're only doing monthly, we can't really afford to have a SIG miss their status update. So I'm kind of just giving you more avenues to spam that. And hopefully that will work for you. And it should be less work for you overall. You only have to do these. We're only having 4 SIGs going per month, so that should cut down significantly the amount of status. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone hate this? Or haven't gotten any feedback other than thanks for getting rid of meetings, which I guess is awesome. So that's pretty much all I have.
I've got a question. Is there like we're constantly evolving processes. This feels like an experiment to reduce the cadence. Is there a time box for review? Are we doing this for 6 months, for a year, or where's the checkpoint?
Well, in order to fill out, if we were to try this, we would have to commit to at least August for every SIG to go once. So I think it's worth revisiting. I don't know, every KubeCon, we could put it in the Contributor Summit survey, or, one of the next surveys that we have. So far, people seem to be pretty good with getting rid of a weekly meeting.
The reason I ask is I think back to 2.5 years ago when I got involved in the community. That meeting was my first touch point, and it really helped me ramp up. But I think if the same content is monthly, I could probably have done the same thing, but it was like a useful iteration that kind of, even though there was repetition in it, I wasn't able to see or hear the repetition from a new contributor side. So I'm curious how the community perceives this over time. But as long as we're watching for that, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, one thing, there's a long discussion bug that we had is when this format for this meeting first started, we didn't have things like KEPs. We didn't have the contributor summit, and really you had to go to the meeting, otherwise you would miss something. Now that we have KEPs and, you know, we're meeting regularly, you know, I feel it's worth giving this a shot. Maybe.
And everything is recorded too, right? So that
yeah,
they could always go back like 3 months back and just view all the meetings as well. But I agree with you, Tim. That's how I ramped up as well when I started years ago. But you know, everything is on YouTube now.
The other thing about Checkpoint is in contributor experience in our biweekly updates, we do have the stand up for the community meeting. So, George, I feel like if we just, you know, watch not only the viewership, but maybe check in with the chairs during these meetings and get a pulse for like what people are feeling, where they're the folks that we know need the communication pipeline the most. I think that's fine. So let's just keep the door open there. But I agree that we should totally have a checkpoint as well.
Yeah, and one thing we're able to do now, since it's monthly, this wouldn't have worked if it was weekly, is we're going to publish the meeting notes directly to the mailing list right after the meeting, so that that's like a place of record. We kind of stopped doing that during the weeklies because for a while it would just, there was just too much, you know, and then people just weren't reading it. But I figure if we do it once a month and it's like, here are the links to the slides to the 4 SIGs that went today, you just middle click 4 times and you can get through it in a few minutes, and hopefully that'll be easier for people to consume.
So I have an open question to the chairs. Do you understand the step-by-step process now for what you are responsible for as far as community updates for the project? And if you don't, let's discuss them now. That's what we're here for, right? So I saw Zach come off mute.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what the responsibilities are.
So George, so I put yourself in a chair and like pretty much go, like just as an example, like say, you know, whatever, SIG Fu, like your SIG Food chair, what would you do like this, like right now today? So for instance, like maybe check the schedule for the community meeting, right? So take it like a little step by step like that.
Ooh, I should definitely link the schedule. The way it's working now is I have a host, and the meeting's the third Thursday of the month, and I have a timer that goes off on the first of that month, where the host will come to your SIG, usually on Slack, because that's mostly where people respond, then say, hey, you're due to give a status this month, and that gives you like a 3 weeks to get started. In the past, you know, we gave you 3 days, we would tell you on the Monday of, so we're kind of hoping that, you know, that will give you more time to get prepared. Other than that, let me link up the community meeting notes, which has the link to the schedule. And we went ahead and updated all the docs to kind of reflect how this is going to work. So everything is always linked from this document, but if you look at the like 5th sentence, it says SIG co-chairs read me in bold. That will take you to this spreadsheet. And then what this is just the month, the 4 SIGs that are going to go that month. And then I basically put in all the SIGs to schedule us out, and then we repeat. And then we take into account if there's a KubeCon, holidays, things like that. So if you're going to go in February, if you're SIG Windows Multi-Cluster Code of Conduct Committee and auth, usually the Friday after is when I'm going to have the next host start to kind of send you reminders and things like that. And then the notes also link to the slide template, which I am 90% sure most of you have seen because I've seen most of you give status reports. And I will add those to the notes because I can't find them right now. But does that hopefully answer your questions? Okay.
And then what about like sending updates to KDev and stuff like that?
What do you mean? Like you would, so here's the template, right? So usually for the meeting, you make a copy of this and you fill in with your SIG information. And let's say you can't make the meeting for some reason, you could just send a mail to KDev with a link to this and say, hey, everybody, we weren't able to present today. Here's the status from my SIG to KDev. And then we have a template in here that you should just be able to fill out, put in your workgroup statuses, your sub-projects, where to contact you. Does that help?
Others? Yes, no, maybe?
This slide template, by the way, is for all y'all. So if you want to change it, adapt it, it's also optional. I know some, I'm not here to tell you what to do. So if you want to cut and chop this up, whatever is useful for you. Yeah, we did have a lot of SIG saying, hey, it'd be better if you just gave us a template to fill in stuff. And that's how we came up with this. So this is a living document. Feel free to give us recommendations or, add things that you want, because has been a while.
It might be good for chairs who are super swamped to have like a checklist for compliance, like hey, it's February, you should probably send an email to KDev. I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. Like, hey, it's February, you should probably send an email to KDev about your update status, or like, hey, it's March, you're going for community update, something along those lines. I think that might be helpful, but I mean, I think everybody is naturally +1 about everything that's happening.
Yeah. Also, I hate to ruin this, but I think you're kind of hinting towards, we do have an open issue that there should be a SIG co-chair handbook. But we haven't really sat down and wrote it other than.
So I also opened one for a SIG release chair handbook, and since we have all those handbooks for release team, I was like, oh, it'd be nice if we wrote one for the SIG chair. And I kind of sat down and I was like, I don't know what to write here yet. So
it could start with a checklist. If it's stuff like, remember to do introductions at the beginning of your meeting. So I know some SIGs have different structured notes than others. Some are empty, and some, they have a nicely filled out detail section in the front that's like, here's where our list is, here's where our goals are, here's our back, here's our status board, here's our backlog, all that stuff.
Yeah, we do that for a bunch of our, I think we've copied from some template. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone copied from SIG Cluster Lifecycle or whatever, but we haven't actually sat down and say, what should it actually say, and have tips in there. So
sounds like a working group. Spin it up. Not really working group, by the way.
I was thinking just starting a document.
Yeah. Not like SIG's YAML working group. Time out. Yeah, I know. It's like, words are important here. I mean, like, working group within this little crew of people right here, and you all are working on a collaborative, like, Slack DM. So, George, I don't know. Why don't you just, like, take an action that, like, sounds like there's people in here that, like, want to help out with similar causes. So,
yeah, I'd be down to help out with that.
All right. And then, all right, let's time box that. Any other questions, concerns, comments specifically about how you're going to operate your how you're going to give the community updates as far as what your community group is doing and why. I just want to tell you should just overly communicate, right? TLDR is, in this project, it's so huge. If you feel like, wow, I haven't talked about our SIG in like 30 days, talk about it. Like, there are so many venues for you to do it. Use them all. Like, I don't think I would rather let George and I or someone in the community be like, hey, you have too many communications going out. Like, I would definitely err on the side of always be updating, right? and you always have your KubeCon intros and deep dives, please link those places. Like that's the other thing. Link them to KDev, what have you. We can figure that out too as we go. Maybe there's a collective resource that we can all pull together for that. Who knows, TLDR, but the future looks great. So less meetings as well. So thanks to George and everybody that has put time into that and trying to figure that out. We got a lot of feedback from people too. So feedback, again, look, it's always appreciated, and clearly it goes into action. So thank you, everyone. Is there any other announcements that people think is really crucial that they get out to this body of folks? All right. Well, one, there's always next time. Two, you now know about Slack channels, mailing lists, and things. Please use them. All right. Open discussion, 3 topics. Looks like we've got a little less than 20 minutes. This first one is obviously the meta question on deck, which is what value add would you get out of this meeting? Obviously, all of you are extremely busy people. I want this to be as valuable to you as possible. You all are different, like experience, personalities, etc., and all require different information at different times. Like for instance, we could bring in guests. I can bring in guest speakers. I can bring in people in the industry. We can do it up. We can do trainings. I can do literally anything that you all need. For the most part, anyway. I can't give you money. So. Anybody want to like just start a discussion about what you want to see out of this? And this is not necessarily something we have to talk about now either. We can talk about it like post the January meeting, but anything that comes to your mind right now that you want to spark. And I see a hand from Jim.
Yeah, I would love to have a kind of ongoing discussion just about contributor capacity, sustainability. You know, as brought up earlier, mentorship. Just generally, what are other folks doing? What has been successful? What has worked? What hasn't worked? And ways we can do better. Just a kind of a touch point on that, I think would be great.
Definitely. And I clearly have not communicated well on some of the stuff that we have and don't have and why we don't have it and things like that. So I'm also going to be using this meeting to do that. So expect more. And I will happily do, like I said, any trainings and things like that that we can do step by step to help make that better. Anybody else? I'm looking for hands. I don't see any hands. Nope. All right. And then getting in contact with you, obviously during the intros, we said, like, I asked like what the best contact. You all heard that it's all across the board, right? I mean, you have Farina who's like, send me a pigeon. You've got Walter who's like, I don't care, send me whatever. Like, so you've got folks who are all across the room, right? So the question is, and now it's not a question, now people are filing issues about it. How do we get acknowledgments from 40 community groups on matters that we need, especially like security things, for instance, whether it's security related to auth or security related to like Zoom settings and trolls? Like, how can what's the best way for us to get an acknowledgement? For instance, GitHub issues, and we just label it all the SIGs, and then you know that that's an area that you need to go to. So let's talk about this.
So we had an issue, or not an issue, but I think a mailing list discussion a while back, maybe 2017, I don't know, early 2018, about this. And I think that was around the time that you also started sending out the SIG chair TL need to knows, but you sent them out to individual email addresses because SIG chairs were not necessarily seeing the stuff that was on the SIG leads mailing list. As far as I know, being a part of that mailing list and actioning on the things that are in that mailing list is a requirement for SIG chairs and technical leads. So I think that we should just be doing what we're supposed to do and reading those emails. Whether it's make sure it's marked as important, make sure it doesn't go to spam, make sure like you have a special filter or something. Like you should just be reading the emails. I think that should be simple.
All right. Sorry, y'all, I'm taking notes. And then we have Zach in comments. Zach, did you want to touch on that? Chat, I said comments. I'm thinking GitHub.
Sorry, I had to step away for a moment. In no way can I fault the technical correctness of what Stephen has said, and yet the likelihood of my actually reading an email is low. I don't know if this is a discussion that isn't actually a discussion but is amounts to TLDR, read the damn email, then okay, fine. But if we're actually discussing like what actually works, the greatest likelihood that I will actually see something that requires me to see and interact and acknowledge it is going to be through a GitHub issue.
I feel like there's some kind of automation here that we could like pull issues that are tagged as such into the digest for emails or something along those lines. I don't know. Y'all are rocket scientists with this recipe stuff. I feel like there is a solution there where we could do both, but it would require folks to either be on the digest or looking at and I see Tim with a hand up. Go ahead.
When I had mentioned that issue notifications don't hit me, I actually was probably vaguer than I should have been. Issue notifications writ large is a C, but things assigned to me for action as a SIG lead I do strive to act on in a time-bounded way. So I could see that maybe if we were to agree that there was some particular place for actionable things versus just notifications that are a sea of all things that could whittle things for us. And if we agreed, whether it was the email list or issues assigned to people, if there's an expectation, like what Stephen was saying, like we need a baseline expectation. What is the way that we communicate and act?
Stephen?
So yeah, so I think probably a combination of both could work. I think for instances where it's meant to be an announcement, this thing is happening, that SIG leads need to know, it probably makes sense for the mailing list as opposed to a GitHub issue. If it's something where we're seeking consensus, then maybe an issue is better. We also have to consider that there may be times that we're dealing with sensitive issues that should not necessarily be on GitHub just yet, right? So that would be a place where the mailing list would be used instead.
Any other discussion points on this? We should wrap so we can get to the next item. So maybe one or two more discussion points. And then I'll chat with the other group as well and come back with sort of what that baseline might look like. Anyone? All right. And a few of you, by the way, I know, Stephen, you said a few more things. If you could copy those into the notes as well, that would be great. I was trying hard to see the hands and type the notes.
Yeah, typing
that. Everyone knows facilitation is harder than it looks. All right, well, that brings me to like the facilitation as hard as it looks. Why? Because that's your number one duty as a chair. So who is taking your place? That's what I want to know. Some of you have been around forever. I want to know how I, Contribx, etc., can help you with succession planning. We can do things like a chair shadow program. So let's just have a general discussion. Who wants to share about what they're doing as far as what's next for them? I mean, not necessarily in details. Like, I don't need to know your next employer. Steven.
Yeah, so we're actually running into this, are about to run into this, I guess, Tim, with the Pivotal acquisition. The SIG release chairs are now all VMware, and I think Tim and I were digging around to find where this is listed, but I'm not sure if it's actually a thing or something that we just thought was a thing. That there should be employer diversity across SIG chairs. So we've been wrestling with ideas who could be a potential successor, and I actually post one of the KubeCon nights or something, posted to some of the SIG release members, and it was kind of as a, well, if you could have someone right now, not thinking about it too much, like who comes to mind, right? And there weren't any good answers. We have, like, I think, Tim and I were talking about this. We have some incredible contributors, incredible on the IC level, and but we're also trying to target people who would be good on the managery herding catsy level. So the talk of mentorship on that level, whether it be training, whether it be a shadow program, I think that's a pretty cool idea. There's also an issue open from Gwen about chair communication overall, right? And it's one of those things where I think one of the issues that we have is that to build someone up to potentially be a chair or technical lead, that's also a time commitment, right? And I think what's being posited about communication is that we're failing to communicate in certain venues because we're oversubscribed, right? So adding one more thing to the list, mentoring replacement, I think is striking people as hard. I think there was also a mention of, like, term limits, and I don't know, I'm conflicted. Like, I feel like I feel like there should be a checkpoint. Are you doing a good job? Do you feel like you're doing a good job? Are you oversubscribed in some way? And making a decision partially based on that. I don't think it needs to be a hard limit necessarily. But
if I can interrupt, you're going deep on us right now. That wasn't the question. The question was you. Like, what are you, Steven, doing to find successors? Like, you answered the would mentoring programs. So that's to check. But it's like, that's like, we already know the problems, right? It's how can we, like, today, like, take action and help you all and, like, figure that part out, right?
So I also want to make sure that we don't make assumptions about the problems that we know, because we're also recording this for people who may not be chairs, right? So that's a problem that we have as chairs for people watching. What we're doing, what I think for on the SIG release side, we've spun up a sub-project for release engineering and moved some of the roles that were on the release team around release engineering. So the branch manager and the patch release roles into the release engineering sub-project, and starting to build a ladder around that. So we're trying to essentially mold some leaders on the release engineering side so that there are many hands in churning a Kubernetes release. I think that some of that will tease out people who have leadership qualities that we need. We're also spinning up a new sub-project for CI Signal to focus on some of that stuff. And I think that should also so I mean, like, I would look to, I'm first looking at but we also have, like, lots of opportunities for leadership in SIG release in general. So, like, I look at the current sub-project owners. I would be looking at former release team role leads and release team leads and their shadows as potential leaders for this stuff. And then, you know, of course, the people who have done phenomenal jobs over the last few cycles just in doing work. I think that this is a good opportunity for, you know, we initially said like, oh, well, this is not really something that's like, oh, this person maybe doesn't have this kind of leadership thing, right? Or maybe that's not what they do day to day. But this is also a good opportunity for you to hone those skills. So like, we're trying to build sub projects and things that give you the opportunity to flex some of that stuff, but like I think it's still hard. So.
Why do you think there is a requirement that someone should be a sub project owner in order to be a chair?
Oh no, I'm not saying that it is a requirement. I'm saying that those would be the people I would be looking at first to take chairship.
First, but not all.
Yeah.
Okay, not exclusion.
Not exclusively. No, not exclusively. So the list of people would be the sub project owners, the people who have served on the release team as role leads or team leads, and people who've been doing exceptional jobs lately. Right. So it's a set of a bunch of people, not exclusive at all.
What's up? What are other people doing? How are you thinking about this as far as your role is concerned as a chair or a tech lead?
Zach's got his hand up.
Zach, sorry about that.
No worries. So with Docs, it's a bit of an I am legend situation in that I am like the only technical writer who is in SIG Docs. So in terms of replacing myself, I mean, Jim is wonderful. Jim has stepped up and is doing really powerful work as a chair. And we have two shadows right now. Caitlin Bernard, who is leading the blog working group, and Brad Topol at IBM. So we have like an incredibly deep technical bench for Docs, but in terms of people who do Docs professionally, have the professional expertise to wrangle documentation, we don't really have anyone right now. So I would love to step away. Part of me would love having a hard term limit so that I could jetpack out of the role, whether I was replaced or not. But yeah, it's not just about well, I guess for Docs, it's finding people who are dedicated to documentation as such, and who can wrangle like information architecture, and who can look at documentation as a whole piece, and make a meaningful contribution and provide meaningful leadership there. And for us, I would say that participate. So we do have a hard requirement for chair leadership that participating in the release cycle, either as the release lead or as a shadow, is a hard requirement, because there are so many moving pieces in the Docs portion of the quarterly release cycle. Something always breaks, and it never breaks the same way twice. So the ability to come in and diagnose and repair what's going on, to support the quarterly release lead in doing that, that's one of the primary things that a chair does in support. And I think that was actually what like raised Jim's visibility to me as not just an awesome person, but like as a chair candidate, was that Jim mentored, I think, like 3 release cycles really successfully, and like got the release piece in a much better place than it was. But yeah, for SIG Docs, it's the difficulty really is in finding candidates.
See, we're all learning from each other already. What about everybody else? We have time for one more. I already have questions and notes and stuff to send out. One more. What are you all doing for how to plan your success? What's your succession strategy here? And no, I'm not asking you to leave tomorrow.
And I think it's also fine to call out that, like, if you don't have one, like, some of us may not even have one.
Yeah,
if you want to talk
and
about
that's
that
fine.
too.
Yeah. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to learn from each other, and help each other too. So clearly this is a point where we should definitely expand on, maybe even have a separate session on it, as far as the chair role in particular and succession, not even from a holistic contributor angle, which, you know, yes, you all are trying to grow your contributors as well, but we should definitely have a session on you and growing the chair role and things like that. So that's pretty much all we have time for. Anybody else want to wrap things up with a last tidbit, knick-knack, anything they want to say before we head out?
This was really awesome, and thank you for kicking this off.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I already see like room for improvement and things. So I'm really happy that y'all joined. We had 19 at our high today, which was awesome. But y'all, we have 90 chairs and tech leads. 90. I'm not going to lie. I think y'all are very active. That's just from my TLDR. Like, my TLDR is this is a very active crew that is on the phone today. So anyway, thank you very much for being chairs. We really appreciate you. It's so much just like unsung stuff, especially like organizational, like administrivia. Like, am I really like troubleshooting Zoom? Especially like Googlers are like, we like Hangouts. Everybody's like, we like blue jeans. It's just like, oh my gosh. Anyway, we really appreciate y'all. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.